If you open to Psalm 72, we're going to go to a different kind of scripture today in our first Sunday of Advent. Psalm 72. And as you do, we'll get to it in just a minute. In the year 2020, there was not a whole lot that we can come up with that took place that we would seem to think was very good. When we look back on history, when people talk about it, anytime anybody actually says the words 2020, someone goes, ugh. Or there's just a thought in the head of something. It seems like a lot of there's just different points in history where you base things off of that particular year. 2020 is now going to be that year. Our young people, especially when they get older, they're going to say, remember 2020? Like there's going to be something about that year. But in the year 2020, there wasn't a whole lot that took place that seemed to be very good. But there was one thing for many people that came out in about April of 2020. It was a Netflix series that was introduced and became an instant hit for many young adults and even adults during that year. And maybe part of it was because of the timing of it. You weren't going anywhere. There wasn't much going on during that time. So this series on Netflix comes out, gets introduced, and quickly just becomes a hit among young adults and adults. And not long after that, teenagers started noticing it as well. And in this series, what it is, it's a story of a group of tight-knit, unpopular, lowest on the civilization food chain friends called the Pogues. They go by the name of the Pogues, who unexpectedly find themselves chasing the legendary gold of the royal merchant. And as you follow this series, on its surface, it's about a treasure. It's about the thrill of discovery. It's about the promise of riches. But as the story unfolds, you find that it's about much more than that. There's one character in particular, actually, he's kind of seems to be the leader of the group. His name is John B. And about him, the hunt isn't necessarily just for gold. And then when you follow his story, you see that it's actually deeply personal. He's actually searching for a connection. He's searching for closure about his father's mysterious disappearance. And ultimately, he's actually searching for a sense of meaning in his life. And this treasure that they're chasing after represents hope. And for John B. especially, it represents the one thing that he believes is actually going to heal his wounds and answer his questions, solve all his problems, just make everything right in his life. And all the other Pogues, all the other kids in this group that go by the name of the Pogues, have their own reasons for joining this quest and joining this search. Someone to escape the weight of poverty. Someone to prove that they're more than labels that society has placed on them. Some of them are actually simply wanting to feel free in a world that feels suffocating. And now they are 4 seasons into this, and it still has just caught so many of, especially that younger generation, by storm. And for me, I've watched it. I've watched other family because of the younger generation, because of our kids. And like many things, like most shows like this, like most artists or whoever that become so popular, I've asked this of some of ours, like the artists, like even Taylor Swift. I'll ask questions like, what is it that makes them so much more popular? Like what is it that takes it from just another show of so many good shows that are out there to another level that there's just something more that attracts people to that? Because on the surface, when I share that with you, if you've never heard of this, the show's called Outer Banks. And if you've never heard of this show, you're probably going, well, that sounds like just about any other show that's been out there at some point, at some time in life. What is so special about this? And honestly, I'm not anti-Taylor Swift, but I also go, what makes her so great? There's a lot of good artists out there. Like, why is she this? Why is, and this one's not? Like, this one's good at singing too. This one writes good music. This one's, what is it that sets them in a different place? And for this particular show, what I've concluded is a large part of why I think it's become so popular is not just because it's a show about a group of good-looking teenagers living a life of adventure and freedom while the worst parents in the world sit back and let it happen. Because I do watch that a lot, be like, these are the worst parents ever. Do not watch this for parental advice. But I'm convinced that the reason why this show has resonated, has become so popular, has become such a hit, as much of it is because they're living out what so many of us desire. As we seek to do something about the hopes and the longings and the dreams that we have in order to make our lives better. I think what these guys represent, what they see on the screen, is people living out what they're living inside, especially of a younger generation that they're connecting with, which different shows have done. I mean, back in the past, growing up in a different culture in a different time, it was a Western where someone could walk in with a gun and be the man, where everybody, the whistle or the music starts and they walk in and everybody freaks out because they're the man. It resonated with something. It hit something where they're like, that's with my hopes and my dreams and my longings. It resonates, and it's living it out. And even though, I mean, never mind in this particular show, never mind the fact that first the treasure seems like the answer to all their problems. Never mind the fact that when you follow the journey, you find that the hunt rarely delivers what's expected. Never mind the fact that instead of satisfaction, it often brings disappointment. Instead of unity, it often sparks conflict. Never mind the fact that the closer they get to the treasure, the more elusive it becomes, leaving them to wrestle with frustration and with heartache and danger. Those watching still find themselves connecting, and most likely it's because, like the Pogues, we all have hopes and longings in our lives. And we're kind of living vicariously through them. We're all searching or waiting for something, a treasure of sorts, that is going to fulfill us. And we long, and we hope, and we wait for fulfillment, and for security, and for meaning in life. Because we all have that. Every human being walking on this planet hopes for something, believing in something that will help fulfill that hope. We all have it within us. A lot of our hopes, what we think will bring the fulfillment, is some sort of happiness, or we hope for happiness, we hope for peace, we hope for love, all these things that we talk about. We hope for joy. And so we pursue personal growth, and we seek success. We seek achieving our goals and trying to reach our potential. We, in our personal growth, in order to get this peace and joy and love and happiness and everything, we chase after good health, trying to enjoy a long life and try and stay free from serious illness. We seek purpose in our lives, trying to find meaning in existence and living a life of significance. In our relationships, we look for things to fulfill our hopes and our longings. We look for love. We look to build deep, meaningful, and lasting relationships. We look for some sort of family or family model or family opportunity, whether it's our immediate family or, if we can't find it there, somebody else that will treat us like family. We just look for friendship. We look for connection because we are seeking some sort of hope through our relationships. In our hopes and our longings, we chase after stuff and finances because we hope for stability. And we think that if we have enough resources to meet our needs, we're not going to have to worry anymore. Which, ironically, the more stuff we get, the more we worry about, if we're being honest. And realistically, what we're hoping for is actually not just stability, we're actually hoping for prosperity, so that we can actually experience freedom and abundance and comfort, where we live in a safe, peaceful, and enjoyable environment. Even in our community and in our society, we have hopes and longings. So we seek after peace, and we seek after justice, and we seek after contribution, desiring to make a difference in the lives of others, even spiritually. I would assume most people in this room believe that spiritual things are important. Not everybody does, but even then they still seek some sort of there's a spiritual longing, there's a spiritual hope that they have. So they look for some sort of relational faith, whether it be in what people call God or whether they call it in a higher power. Whatever it is that they're looking for. They're looking for forgiveness. They're looking for a reason beyond this existence that we're in now, like there may be something there. We relate because we're all longing and we're all hoping for something and we're all on a hunt. And I'm convinced that that's why some are done better than others. Some know how to do it better than others. but they paint the picture of what we're all wrestling with, and it becomes so popular, and it takes over. I have not listened to every Taylor Swift song that's out there. I know some people that have, and she's smiling at me now. I thought they were all about breakups, boyfriends, and I've been told that's wrong. I've been adamantly told that's wrong. But I've been told the reason why she's so popular is because she does speak about things that teenagers deal with. And she does it in every form of genre. And whether we like her or not, she's sharing something that so many hope and long for. And she's putting it out there. Because we all have longings and we all have hopes. And oftentimes these hopes and these longings, they overlap and they evolve over time, depending on like our personal experiences and our cultural values and the challenges that people face. But the reality is, in the midst of it all, just like the golden Outer Banks, the longer we chase them, the things that we chase after, the things that we lean into, we find that they end up leaving us empty. And they leaving us feeling more hopeless and just honestly let down. In the midst of the reality that hope and longing is an inescapable part of human beings with futures, we chase after different things that we find just aren't there. They don't do it, just like these guys discover in the show. So today, as we spend this little bit of time and we think about this reality, the question that I want us to ask ourselves through this time, individually, personally, is what am I hoping for? What is it that I am longing for? You don't have to tell anybody next to you. You don't even necessarily have to write it down, though I suggest that it's a good idea. And then what treasure am I seeking that I think is going to fix it all? Because I think that these questions will do as much good to find honest answers to as human beings have been trying to do since the beginning of time. Right now, we're sharing this, the beginning of Advent, because I think it's a great time to stop and take this inventory. There are moments in life where we can go back and look at the lives of others and see what it led them to when they put their hope or their treasure in, for the hope that they were longing for in the wrong thing. But there are just times where it's good to just stop and take inventory and reflect. Because like these guys do in the show, so often we just chase after the wrong thing for the hopes that we have. And in the end, it's not just us, but so many that feel let down when it's over. Psalm 72, let's look at this. I want to read these words. This is the words of the great King David in Psalm 72. Up on the top, I think in most of your Bibles, right under Psalm 72, it probably says of Solomon on there. I want you to know that that can actually be translated to Solomon. In fact, over the years, throughout church history, a lot of people have actually said that more as to Solomon than of Solomon. This is something that David wrote near the end of his life, where he was living the end of his life, probably processing all of the victories, all of the accomplishments, all of the regrets, all the anxieties, all the joys, all that stuff towards the end of his life was probably right in front of him, playing through his mind. He was picturing what was going on in this kingdom that he had reigned over for so long, knowing that there were rivals who were jockeying to take his position in the kingdom. He was knowing that because of the way things worked out in the process, and you can read about it in 1 Kings, his young son Solomon was going to be the one that was going to be taking over, but he was being left, even in the midst of that, under the protection of Joab, a man who had seemed kind of get twisted by all the bloodshed that he had spilled in being in this role for David. And kind of a man that would be a hard time trusting. David's got all this going on in his mind as he's coming to the end of his life. He spent his life fellowshipping with the Lord, getting glimpses of what it looks like to have a relationship with him and how the Father would restore his creation through a kingdom. And so he's at this place probably thinking, man, there's a lot of stuff I didn't get done. There's a lot of stuff that I still wish would happen. My heart is with these people. My heart is with God's plan. My heart is with the kingdom. I have longings. I have hopes. And I don't know how close he is to his final breaths. But what we're about ready to read, is a blessing that he writes not just of Solomon, but to Solomon in here, with all of this going on in here. And when you read it, it actually, on one hand, looks quite beautiful. But we're going to look at it and show us what can happen, how things can play out, without me getting too far ahead. Let's just read it together. Psalm 72, starting in verse 1, it says, "Endow the king with your justice, O God, the royal son with your righteousness." What would we say David is doing right now? He's praying. Here we are, God. Solomon, my son, is about to take over. I have all these longings. I still have all these hopes. I have these unfulfilled dreams. I have all these things that didn't get done. So now endow the king with your justice, the royal son with your righteousness. May he judge your people in righteousness, your afflicted ones with justice. May the mountains bring prosperity to the people, the hills the fruit of righteousness. May he defend the afflicted among the people and save the children of the needy. May he crush the oppressor. May he endure as long as the sun, as long as the moon, through all generations. May he be like rain falling on a mown field, like showers watering the earth. In his days may the righteous flourish and prosperity abound till the moon is no more. May he rule from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. May the desert tribes bow before him and his enemies lick the dust. May the kings of Tarshish and of distant shores bring tribute to him. May the kings of Sheba and Seba present him gifts. May all kings bow down to him and all nations serve him. Here's why. For he will deliver the needy who cry out, the afflicted who have no one to help. He will take pity on the weak and the needy and save the needy from death. He will rescue them from oppression and violence, for precious is their blood in his sight. Long may he live. May gold from Sheba be given him. May people ever pray for him and bless him all day long. May grain abound throughout the land. On the tops of the hills may it sway. May the crops flourish like Lebanon and thrive like the grass of the field. And may his name endure forever. May it continue as long as the sun. Then all the nations will be blessed through him, and they will call him blessed. This is at the end of David's life, when life is just hitting him, everything about it. And again, just in the little bit that we have about David's life, my goodness, you could write a TV series on Netflix about him and the things that he did. And he's processing all this. He's considering everything that's happened, and he's realizing there is still more to do, and there's still hopes, and there's still longings, and there's still desires that come from the experiences he had and what God has promised and what he still wants to see to be done. And he's crying out to God, writing this blessing on what he's putting his hope in. He's hoping for justice to still take place. He's hoping for the people that he's led for so long to experience provision. He's hoping that they would get to experience peace and have stability among them. None of those things are wrong. All those things are good things to be hoping in, but the problem is where he was putting his hope for that to happen. Because where he is hoping it's going to take place, the one that would be the treasure was his son Solomon to fulfill them all. He longed and he believed that his son Solomon, through his reign over Israel, would finish what he started and would be the one to bring all these things that he hoped for to reality. On one hand, that seems pretty amazing. A dad to his son, like, man, that is just inspiring. That's awesome. I want to see my son succeed. But here's a guy, again, who is actually labeled as a man after God's own heart, who still struggled with the same thing you and I struggle with, having hopes and dreams and longings, but remembering where to place those hopes and those dreams and those longings. And even at the end of his life, wasn't that his hopes and his dreams and his longings were wrong. It's where he was placing his trust, where he was going to make those dreams and longings come true. And in this one, his son Solomon, he was literally praying to God to use Solomon to have it happen. And the problem when he does this is it turns out that Solomon is not the answer. David doesn't live long enough to get to experience this, but I wonder what happened with Solomon, with all that pressure that he had, with all that he faced, knowing that that's what his dad was expecting him to bring. And in David's struggle in this moment to misplace his hope in something, in someone, actually probably led to more stress and difficulty for Solomon that he may have even needed to have. And so there's a moment in Solomon's writing where it seems like it becomes pretty clear he did not fulfill this promise. But not only did he not fulfill it, you just wonder what happened to him in the process. Because towards the end of his life, or throughout, after spending some time in his life, he has a moment where he says, I took a good look at everything I'd done. I turned around and I took a good look at everything I'd done, looked at all the sweat and all the hard work, but when I looked, I saw nothing but smoke. Smoke and spitting into the wind. There was nothing to any of it, nothing. And Solomon, the one that his dad was putting the hope in to make all these other hopes and longings and dreams come true, says this. He writes this in Ecclesiastes. He says, I hate life. When it's all said and done, I hate life. As far as I can see, what happens on earth is a bad business. It's smoke, and it's spitting into the wind. These are not the words of a man who made good on his father's hopes. In fact, they're the words of a man who ended up living life with unnecessary, unrealistic pressure. Because of someone else who had good hopes and good dreams and good longings, but struggled in a moment on where he was placing his hope to see those things come true. Who maybe in this moment should have took inventory and pulled back and had a moment, said, these longings, they're good, but where am I putting my hope? And maybe he would have found that he misplaced his hope, and that prayer could have been to God and not about his son. This is an example of what we so easily do in so many different areas, not just with people, but with things. And I don't stand here today and pretend like I don't struggle with this as well. There's so many things in my life, there's so many longings that I have. I seek so much unfounded treasure, even without even realizing it or thinking about it, till later on when I go back and take inventory, does it hit me? We just came through Black Friday. You know how much stuff I needed to have to fulfill some hope and longing because it was on sale for $13? I mean, it's like, it's so crazy how much we get sucked into it. It's not the same as it used to be, but there was a time I would tell you my hope and my longing and my fulfilling was in a sports team accomplishing something. Now I just enjoy it. It's a time to relax, but when you move on, life is going on. But it was there. And there's moments it can come back and it can start to grab you again. There's times where I actually chase after a day off to fulfill hopes, or a weekend away, or I just chase after time with her, whether for an evening or a weekend to fulfill my hopes and my longings in my dream. That could go weird in any way, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I'm tired, I'm worn out, I just need to get away from it all. That's what I mean by that, okay? Don't get any other thoughts in your head until that came out. But it's unfair pressure on her to meet that. But I do that. I still wrestle with this. I still struggle with. We wrestle with this. We struggle with different things because we all have hopes. We all have longings. We all have things we desire. And more than likely, they're good. The question we need to ask is, where are we placing the answer? Like, what are we seeking after to fulfill these? Are we misplacing our hope in someone or something? And again, the reason I'm asking this today is because we start this season of Advent, and we start the season of hope. Therefore, it is a good time for us to stop and reconsider what it is we're hoping for. It's a good time to take inventory and to be honest about what we're hoping for. And I would guess that if we're going to be honest with ourselves, it's just us and our pillow and nobody else to impress or to look good in front of or have the right answer in front of, we would probably be able to admit that we're a lot like David. And our hopes and our longings are good and they're right. But the problem is we've misplaced them like David in the wrong people and in the wrong things. So I share this today as we start this season of hope because hope is available to us. We sang about it. In fact, the word, if you guys want to come up, we're going to close with this here. We're going to close with this again. We sang about the firm foundation. That is our hope that we have. That is the only hope. And so starting off the Advent season, which, by the way, I don't know about you, but did you notice this room is bare? We had a guitar and 2 singers. It's all we had today. Perfect for us. Because sometimes it's just simplify everything, take everything else out that's going on in our lives, get rid of all the extra, all the fluff, all the other stuff that's going on, and just be honest and take inventory and give ourselves an opportunity to just anticipate what will be coming, but not have all the extra distraction in there. Sometimes it's good to be like this where it's simple, it's bare, it's here, so we can just sit down and say, what is it that I long for? What is it that I'm hoping for? And that sometimes puts us in a better place where we can come back and be reminded that, man, I've been misplacing my hope in this. I've been misplacing my hope in them. I've been chasing after that. I've got this treasure that I think is going to find the answer to this. It's going to fulfill this longing that I've been going there. It's going to scratch the itch that I've been having for a long time in this area. That's what I've been chasing. That's what I've been going after. And we just forget that we're looking in the wrong place. And sometimes we just need to take a step back and come back to the hope that was given to us that we celebrate at this time freely in the greatest gift that was ever given. We can go through Sunday after Sunday after Sunday, and we're going to have a candle of joy, we're going to have a candle of peace, we're going to have a candle of love, and we're going to go, why am I not experiencing that through this time? Maybe it's because we're putting our hope and misplacing it in so many things other than the one that was gifted to us to bring all of it. Maybe we're putting it in someone and putting pressure on them. Maybe we need to stop and take inventory and realize that, like buildings built on the wrong foundation, we've been misplacing our hope on unfounded treasures, things that just aren't going to work. And from there, try and figure out, however it is in our lives, in the situation we're in, how we can come back to the one that was gifted to us during this time that we're celebrating, how we can come back to the one who said, you know what? I'm going to become flesh. I'm going to go live in that world that they live in so they have hope. I'm going to go live there. I'm going to go through what they've gone through. I'm going to experience what they've got to experience. And it says he's experienced it all. No temptation has come after us. He's been through it all. I'm going to go live in that. I'm going to go walk in that. I'm going to go be a part of that. And I'm going to share with them, and I'm going to show them, and I'm going to give them the foundation. I'm going to actually give them the treasure that they're seeking through my words, through my actions, through my life. And not only that, I'm going to break them free from all the crap that they're dealing with by dying on that cross for them, because they can't do it. They're going to get stuck trying to do this over and over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to go take care of this once and for all. And then I'm going to come back to show the power I have to actually bring hope to their lives. And I'm going to just go ahead and go sit with the Father at his right hand and advocate for him as their hope, as their foundation. Because that is the only firm foundation. That is the only thing we can put our hope in that can handle the pressure of our hopes and our longings. That is the only one who is secure. All the other stuff is going to either leave us or whatever or whoever it is that we're putting our hope in feeling so much like Solomon. At a point of almost going, I hate life. There's so much pressure. Or us going, I hate this because that didn't work either. I'm just chasing after the wind. I want to challenge us. I was reading in my scripture this morning in my personal time. We're together to build each other up. Guys, I love this time of the year. And I suspect this is the last time this sanctuary is going to look this simple for a while. You're going to walk in next week and be like, oh, it feels like it's beautiful in here. Because we know we've got talent all around that decorates this place, and it's beautiful. The band's going to get bigger. We're going to have a Christmas Eve service that, honestly, I think is going to be amazing. With not just us, but those in our community. But if we walk through this whole season relying on those traditions and those experiences and those moments and those memories and all that kind of stuff, if that's what we're building all this off of, on December 26th, when we're done opening our gifts, or maybe some of you are going to have Christmas a week later, whenever that is, when the new year starts, and we go back to work, and we go, oh yeah, it's cold outside. I do still live in western Kansas. Everything's dead around me in nature. It's freezing. Can't find my coat. Whatever it may be, we're going to be right back where we are. If we can wake up and go, man, it's January 1st or 2nd, and it's cold outside. And everything around me in nature is dead, and I can't find my coat, but I got hope today. Because that firm foundation is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. If we can discover him again through this Advent, this will be way different than it's been in a long time. So I just challenge us to take inventory. What am I hoping for? We all hope for something. What am I longing for? Where am I placing the answer to that? Is it someone, something else, or is it in our firm foundation? Because let me tell you, he won't fail. So let's stand and let's sing that as a reminder one last time as we leave today.
I'm gonna make it through. Yeah.
Kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and in his joy went and sold all he had and bought that field. Jesus said that. That's where hope is found. That's where the treasure is. We can be a pogue and look everywhere. That's where it is. In Jesus and the kingdom he came to bring. That's our firm foundation. If we can rediscover that and figure out how to live our lives trusting him, I promise you, and I'll make this promise, this will be a different Christmas than you've experienced in a long time. There's a longing, a hope, something we desire is going to be fulfilled. So God, I pray that as we begin this first Sunday of Advent, and we have many days ahead, weeks together, that we would start off personally taking inventory of what our hopes are, and what our longings are, and not be ashamed of them, but just be willing to admit them, be willing to share them, be willing to know that they're there, and then consider where it is we're looking to fulfill that hope and that longing. What it is we're placing our hope in, who it is that we're placing our hope in. And if it's anything beyond you and what you've ordained and what you have brought in your kingdom, God, give us the courage to work with you and what can be done about that. Show us how we can truly place our hope in you, the actual firm foundation. Put someone in our lives that will walk with us through this, that are not there to bring us down, but to build us up so that we can experience the hope that the Word became flesh to bring. Give us a fresh breath today, tomorrow, the next day, as we walk in a new hope. But thank you most of all for the opportunity to be able to pray that and to know that it's possible. God, thank you again for this moment and this gathering and this time together where you could pull us here and share this and remind us of this morning. What a blessing. Thank you for giving it to us in Jesus' name. Amen. Have a great day, everybody.